Why, hello there. Welcome to Dank Times Danker Thoughts, episode 120, with me, Angelo. And right off the bat, your boy's in a good mood. That heat wave is over. It only killed a few dozen people. Weaklings. That's Darwinism right there for you. That's survival of the fittest. Although it's not the same as what's happening in, I think it's in Kentucky, Appalachian country with those horrific floodings. I think the death count is almost 30 down there. You can't really blame evolution or the strongest survive when your home and your area and your town is flooding. I hope that they fix the infrastructure down there and Mitch McConnell gets his head out of his ass and actually invests in the state that keeps electing him for some reason. But yes, so it's been about in the low 80s, high 70s so far this week, and that's Angelo's perfect weather. I love it. Although I have not been able to take advantage of it because your boy was slammed at work on Tuesday and Monday. I slept like shit on Monday. Get this. I was high as a kite, getting ready for bed. Maybe it was 10:45, 11 o'clock. I'm watching Married with Children, just laughing my ass off. And I think, all right, it's time for bed. I can barely keep my one good eye open. So I fall asleep just fine, and your boy has a hell of a vivid dream. I can't go into specifics, unfortunately, because I forgot most of the dream. But the gist of it is that I was some sort of martyr. I was sacrificing myself to save people, whether it be a few people or everyone in the world. Who the fuck knows? The fact remains, I was called upon to do something, to stay behind, detonate a bomb, throw myself in front of an asteroid, or some shit like that. And it was a very emotional dream. Now, sometimes my dreams that are on that scale of largeness, it's almost like a movie. Like, there's music and like a cinematic score in the backgrounds of these dreams. And that's exactly the kind of dream that I had. So I woke up about 3 in the morning from that intensely emotional dream, and I was worked up. But normally, when I have those dreams and I wake up, your boy falls asleep within a few seconds. Not this time. I was so energized from that dream that I just was kind of staring up at the ceiling, going through it in my head, hoping I didn't forget it, which I ended up doing. But anyway, I was on the verge of falling asleep again. Then I hear LaFonda downstairs just making those ungodly noises of coughing up a hairball. And it lasted for about a minute, and then it stopped. And I thought, good Christ, I hope it's not by the stairs, and I forget about it, and in the morning I just walk right into it and track that disgusting mess all throughout the house. So that kept me awake for a little while longer. Then I was starting to drift off again. LaFonda comes upstairs. Now she's in my bedroom, just meowing at me loudly. And she has something that I don't know what it is, but it's loud. Like it's a bottle cap or a joint tube or a crispy leaf. I don't know. So he brought it into my room to show it to me, and she's batting it around, making a godly amount of noise. And now it's almost 4 in the morning. So finally she leaves. I fall back asleep. 20 minutes later, I wake back up because now the cat is on top of my chest making pancakes, making dough. And I'm like, God damn you, cat. So finally she leaves, and I'm able to fall asleep again. But it took me at least another 40 minutes to fall asleep, and I was getting fucked up. Like, my stomach was starting to hurt. I was starting to fart and burp a lot. I was starting to get sweaty, like I was having menopause or some shit. So it was not a peaceful sleep when I was able to fall back asleep again. And I woke up at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I thought, good Christ, my day's already ruined. So that was my Tuesday. But I'm not here to bitch. I'm actually in a damn good mood. My Idaho trip's coming up. I'm still working out the kinks on this, trying to figure out when am I going, who am I going with. And then once that's settled, I can figure out who's going to come over here and help me out and maintaining the house, making sure LaFonda's okay, make sure my houseplants are alive. But that's down the road here. But the reason I'm in a good mood is that the Mariners at the trade deadline swung an amazing trade for arguably one of the best pitchers, not only in the National League, but on all of baseball, Luis Castillo. And yes, we gave up a king's ransom for him, including 2 of our top prospects and 2 more, mid-tier prospects. So basically, we gave them 4 top 15 prospects for this Luis Castillo. Now, before you Mariner fans are like, oh my God, we gave up too much, Luis Castillo looks like a Felix Hernandez to me. And he's going to slot into a rotation, which he's already done. He made his first start as a Mariner today against the Yankees in New York, and he clobbered the shit out of them. So already he's looking like a damn good acquisition. Although time will tell, because we did give up 4 top prospects, including our number 1 and number 2 prospects. So it was a high ransom to get Castillo, but so far he seems to be worth it. And then we filled out their trade deadline with 3 more players, a backup catcher, a backup infielder, and then a left-handed starting pitcher, which we really don't need, but you can't ever have enough starting pitching. Matthew Boyd, who's also from the area. He is probably in most rotations, he would be a number 2 or a number 3 pitcher. And so he would be our 7th pitcher if we use him like that. But it sure seems like he's going to slot out of the bullpen and be a long reliever or a spot starter when needed. So I'm ecstatic about what the Mariners have done. And this is coming on the heels of us losing 3 of 4 to those damn dirty, cheating, traitorous Houston Astros. I don't want to blame the Donald Trump presidency and COVID on the Houston Astros. But all I'm saying, life was going pretty good until their cheating scandal. Then Harambe was shot, Trump was elected, COVID, and, it just has gone downhill. Oh, and then Putin declaring war on Ukraine. Do I lay that all on the feet of the baseball franchise Houston Astros? Yes and no. So in terms of sports, I'm having a hell of a time. The Seahawks are, I think their preseason game's coming up. So I'm excited to see how shit our quarterbacks are going to be. But I think our defense is going to surprise a lot of people. I think our defense has the ability to be top 10, top 12 in the league. Now the offense, a lot of it's going to depend on the starting tackles on the offensive line. One of them we know is going to be Charles Cross, our first round pick. And on the right side, who the fuck knows? It's a 3-man competition, including the rookie from Washington State, Abraham Lucas, Stone Forsythe, and Jake Curhan are all fighting for that right tackle spot. On the left side, like I said, we got Charles Cross, our first round pick this year. So if our offensive line can at least run block above average, I think even our offense could surprise some people, even if we have a mediocre at best quarterback, whether it be Drew Lock or Geno Smith, Jacob Eason, or maybe even a surprise guy like a Tyler Heineke of Washington, Gardner Minshew out of Philadelphia, Jimmy Garoppolo from San Francisco, or even a Sam Darnold from Carolina. But enough about this. This podcast, I'm going to talk a little bit about the news. I'm not going to go too in-depth on the news. I want to talk about my experience, my own personal experience with the police. I know I've talked a lot about how I would fix the current state of policing in this country. I know I've talked a lot about the pros and cons of the current state of the police, and how when you look at police through the historical context, you see that the police are racist because they are holding up racist laws. But that doesn't mean every police officer is a racist pig. In fact, I think the vast majority of police are honorable people. However, I do have some stories that I want to go over my experience with the Popo. And so, really quickly now, I want to applaud Nancy Pelosi, which I didn't think I would ever do. But she said she was going to go to Taiwan, which infuriated China, and actually was getting pushed back by the Biden administration, including the president himself. And even the military was saying, Nancy, not a good idea at this time to go to Taiwan and piss off China. Now, to me, China is the only other world power that is comparable to America at this time. They're having as much of a hard time as America is in terms of inflation, housing costs, gas prices, basically anything that you're struggling with in America. The Chinese are having the same problems, if not more. Their housing market is having a way worse time than the American housing market. And so it's just not a good time in the geopolitical sense to have the leader of the Democratic Party, Nancy Pelosi, to go to Taiwan, which, if you don't know, China believes that Taiwan is their own, so they believe in this one China thing, and the rest of the world is like, well, we don't believe in that. will honor the one China thing, but really Taiwan is separate. So they talk out of both sides of their mouths because they don't want to start shit with, again, arguably the only other world power that's on the scale of America. So Pelosi announced she was going to visit Taiwan last week. She was rebuked by a lot of people within the Democratic Party, but Republicans were like, fuck yeah, go, stick it to China, do whatever you want. So then there was some waffling back and forth, and even the day before, when her itinerary was leaked out to the press, Taiwan was kept off. And I thought, well, that's kind of shitty. I'm not a huge fan of Pelosi and her big tits. I thought she should have retired 20, 30 years ago, but she kept at it. She's been holding down progressives for at least a decade, if not more. Her time in the spotlight should have been over decades ago. However, I do applaud her for the idea of going to Taiwan to remind China of you just can't boss other countries around. You can't do whatever the fuck you want to do. I wish America would listen to that, but what are you going to do? So I thought Pelosi gave in to the peer pressure from the other Democratic leadership, specifically Schumer, President Biden, and of course, all the military. Every single person in the military was like, please don't go. And it was kept off her itinerary, so I thought, okay, I guess that's the smart thing to do. Don't go to Taiwan, even though I would do it anyway. Lo and behold, the big-titted monster that is Nancy Pelosi, surprise, surprise, did go to Taiwan, did meet with the president of Taiwan, make some jabs at the Chinese quote-unquote president, Xi. And yeah, it was awesome. She didn't stay long. I think she was there for about a half a day, took a bunch of photos, gave a little speech, blah, blah, blah. China, of course, leading up to the supposed visit, was talking about, oh, there's going to be hell to pay. How dare you do this? We're going to do military practices around Taiwan. You know, we're going to shoot your plane down, all that nonsense. And nothing happened. It was all bluster on both sides. So I gotta give it to Nancy Pelosi for sticking to her guns and actually going through with this, because you need to remind the Chinese government you can't boss other countries around. Now, is it okay when America does it? Absolutely not. But I don't ever hear China calling us out on that. You know, when President Biden was in Saudi Arabia talking to that mass murderer, MBS, you know, the prince of Saudi Arabia, he brought up the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, came back at Biden saying, who are you to tell us how we do things? You're the one that has Guantanamo Bay open. You're the one that drone strikes innocent people and weddings and all that shit. So who the fuck are you talking to, America? That's a pot calling the kettle black. And the sad thing is, MBS is not wrong. And he was not wrong when he was talking to Biden about this. But fuck, man. That's the problem when America has blood on their hands and you're talking to another country about what they can and cannot do and what they should and should not do. It's so easy for that other country to flip it back on us and say, yeah, but what about your history? Durga, 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 durga. But I digress. I congratulate you, Nancy Pelosi, for pulling through your plan and actually sticking it to China. But speaking of President Biden, he has now contracted COVID a second time in less than a month, which is astounding that he is still able to stammer around and drool on himself and talk to nobody and try to shake ghosts' hands. But he did test positive again, and I think some other people in his circle also tested positive. But my thinking is, if a 120-year-old Alzheimer patient that suffers from dementia on the hourly, like Joe Biden, can catch COVID twice and beat it, then you don't have any excuse if you're dying from COVID these days. Now, true, the President of the United States probably has some outlets that the mass majority of Americans do not have when it comes to curing COVID. But my thinking is, at this point, if you don't have your shots and your boosters and you catch COVID and die, boo fucking who. In fact, that is Darwinism at its best. That is the survival of the fittest. So, Biden, I don't know what the fuck you're doing to catch COVID. As long as you're not licking ass and catching monkeypox, I think we're doing okay. But speaking of COVID, there is a new study that just came out today that covers what the fuck is going on and what exactly is long COVID. Long COVID comes in 3 forms according to a study from King's College London. New research from scientists from King's College London supports the idea that there are 3 different types of long COVID, each with their own symptoms. Researchers studied over 1,000 people suffering from post-COVID syndrome and found that there are 3 different subtypes of the condition. The first subtype consisted of respiratory symptoms, the second, neurological, and third, autoimmune. In a new preprint study, which meant it has yet to be peer-reviewed, so hold on to your butts on this one, scientists from King's College in London analyzed the experience of thousands of people across the UK that were infected with the virus. Well, hold on. Already this article, I need to pump my brakes here because it says thousands of people, but above it said, over 1,000 people. Well, over 1,000 people does not mean thousands. Thousands means at least 2,000. Am I fucking retarded here or what? When you say thousands, plural, that's more than 1,000, meaning 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. If it's under 2,000 and over 1,000, you say over 1,000. So anyway, researchers focused on 1,459 people living with post-COVID syndrome, which study crafters defined as having symptoms for at least 12 weeks after being infected with the virus, and were able to place patients into the 3 main symptom profiles. PCS patients, which are also referred to colloquially as long COVID patients, placed in the first group suffered from respiratory symptoms like chest pain and shortness of breath or palpitations. The second group was made up of long COVID patients who experienced neurological symptoms like fatigue, brain fog, poor memory, and headaches, which researchers said was experienced most commonly among those that have been infected with the Alpha or Delta variants. The third group consisted of people who had immune-related responses. Over 7% of all U.S. adults are currently experiencing symptoms of long COVID, according to Census Bureau data. Wait a minute. 7% of all U.S. adults are experiencing long COVID? That's insane. That's a lot of motherfucking people. But while thousands of people are suffering from the condition, not much is known about how to treat it. Although more work is needed to confirm the study's findings, it does offer some insight into the complexities of the virus and its impact on human health. These insights could aid in the development of personalized diagnoses and treatments, as well as helping policymakers plan for the delivery of care for people living with post-COVID syndrome, the study states. So it's pretty interesting. You know. I know a few people that have long COVID, and much like that article said, based on that study, the mass majority of people I know that are suffering have the fatigue or the brain fog, whereas I don't really know anyone that has any respiratory or immune issues. I guess if you always have had autoimmune issues, that would place you in the third bucket after COVID. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, we still don't know what the fuck is happening with COVID. The boosters and the vaccine helped millions and millions and millions of people, but now you have long COVID, now you have complications related to the vaccines, you have complications related to other issues related to the vaccines or not getting the vaccine. So I don't know if we're ever going to know. I mean, the fact that we still aren't even investigating where the fuck it came from. Either it came from a bat, a pangolin, or a wet market, or I think it's common sense it came from the Wuhan lab itself in Wuhan. But what the fuck do I know? I'm only a white man on a podcast. But moving on from COVID, there was a surprise a couple of weeks ago. I'm a little late to the story because I was waiting for it to get vetted a little bit more and waiting for it to either say yay or nay. But it's been about 2 weeks and we still are waiting word whether or not this is actually going to go through or not. But Charles Schumer and Joe Manchin surprised the country by agreeing to a Inflation Reduction Act. Basically, this is Build Back Better, but tweaked a bunch. It pissed off Republicans, it's pissing off fossil fuel companies, it's pissing off pharmaceutical companies. So all that means to me, it's an amazing thing. We have to get it passed ASAP. Major changes to the Affordable Care Act, the nation's biggest ever climate bill, the largest tax hike on corporations in decades, and dozens of lesser-known provisions that will affect millions of Americans. If enacted, the legislation released Wednesday night, now this is back in late July, in a surprise agreement between Senators Joe Manchin and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, would represent one of the most consequential pieces of economic policy in recent U.S. history, though it's still far smaller than the $3 trillion the Biden administration initially sought. That is true. I would have done $6 trillion personally, but what the fuck do I know? The Nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget estimates that the bill would put about $385 billion into combating climate change and bolstering U.S. energy production through changes that would encourage nearly the whole economy to cut carbon emissions. With the planet rapidly warming, Schumer and Manchin say the bill would reduce carbon emissions by roughly 40% by 2030, close to President Biden's goal of cutting U.S. emissions by 50 to 52% by 2030. So we're still behind, but this gives a good kick in the ass to get it going. Manchin also emphasized that it would spur American energy independence more broadly, including by encouraging natural gas, as the war in Ukraine has exposed domestic reliance on petrostates' fossil fuel production. The bill uses two main levers: major new incentives for private industry to produce far more renewable energy, and other incentives for households to transform their energy use and consumption. Democrats say this second set of incentives will also offer immediate consumer relief for the higher energy prices that have bedeviled the Biden administration. The agreement would also raise roughly $470 billion through new tax provisions. The budget group estimates the biggest of which will fall on the country's large corporations. Oh, boo-hoo, the large corporations are finally going to start paying a little bit of their share. After years of rising concern about widening wealth inequality, that's putting it mildly, Democrats failed in their efforts to repeal Republicans' 2017 tax law. Oh, thank you, Donald Trump, for just giving the wealthy even more money, you traitorous scum. The new bill leaves intact most of the corporate and individual income tax cuts President Donald Trump signed into law, largely because Kyrsten Sinema, that capital cunt, has insisted on leaving them untouched. Geez, I wonder who's paying her way. I wonder where she's getting money from, you know what I'm saying? What lobbyists are paying her to push back against repealing the Donald Trump tax law? Kyrsten Sinema, you hooah! But it would still raise taxes significantly, and it would give the badly underfunded IRS its biggest budget increase in its history. Well, that's good. The IRS needs money. That way they can go after the rich people, the billionaires, the companies that are fucking this country over by not paying taxes rather than going after poor people. You know, the IRS spends more time going after working class, poor class than they ever do under the middle or even the higher echelons of American society. It's so fucking broken. I mean, just look what happened to that, was it a 1.2 or 1.3 billion dollar lotto winner in Indiana or some shit? He has to pay all those taxes up front. So after he won 1.2 or 1.3 billion, his take home is only like $500 million. But that's the only time billionaires get taxed, is when they win it in the fucking lottery. Can Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates be taxed like that? God damn it! This would certainly be the biggest corporate tax increase in decades, said Steve Wamoff, a tax expert at the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy, a left-leaning think tank. We've had decades of tax policies benefiting the rich, but this is really the first attempt to raise revenue in a progressive way that would begin to combat wealth and income inequality. I'll believe it when I see it, douchebag. On healthcare, Democrats campaigned in 2020 on major changes, and this deal fulfills two major pledges: allowing Medicare to negotiate the price of prescription drugs. That's fucking massive. And making healthcare more affordable for millions of Americans. Again, define affordable. It falls short on plugging one of the biggest gaps of the Affordable Care Act and other key items long sought by the party's more liberal members. Still, it amounts to the biggest change to the health system in roughly a decade. The bill leaves out many policy ambitions of Democrats, excluding, for instance, plans for new child care, housing, elder care, and paid leave programs. You know, we can't do those things. We can give $10 billion to Ukraine and pass billions and billions of dollars for the military, but we can't give the country free child care, housing, elder care, and paid leave. Come on. What are we, a socialist fucking commies, fascists? Come on. It's not like the other leaders of the free world and their countries are doing this. You fucking idiots. But after months of gridlock and false starts, Democrats hope this agreement will finally become law. Meanwhile, Republicans have started warning that the measure will hurt the U.S. economy. Bullshit. With higher taxes as fears of a recession are growing. Yeah, they didn't say dick when Donald Trump's tax law went into effect and everyone was saying the same thing. If you pass this tax law, it's going to kill the economy. And the Republicans are like, well, you know, that mythical trickle-down thing is going to happen this time, we swear. We know it hasn't worked in 40 years, but this time it's truly going to work, you dumb coos. Steve Maran, who served as senior official in the Treasury Department under Trump and is the co-founder of the investment fund Amberware Partners, said the plan's tax provisions would exacerbate inflation by leading to a decline in supply. Oh, this fucking moron. The current policy mix has already messed up the supply side, and hiking taxes will push further in the wrong direction. Bullshit. Every single group that looked at this bill, whether it be partisan or nonpartisan, has come out and said it's going to help inflation. It's going to decrease the fucking negative budget we have. It's not going to completely balance the budget, but it's going to cut into the deficit. So whenever a Republican tells you that this is going to hurt the economy, just punt them in the cunt. But Democrats from Biden on down argued that the deal was a big step forward. If it sticks, this will be a huge policy win for the White House and the country, addressing both the president's number one short-run issue of inflation and the number one long-run issue, climate change, said Jason Furman, who served as a senior economist in the Obama administration. Here is a summary of what's in the more than 700-page bill, and I'm not going to go into detail on every single one of these. So I'm going to go kind of bullet point here. $260 billion in clean energy tax credits, $1.5 billion in rewards for cutting methane emissions, $27 billion for a green bank. I'll read this one because you need to explain this one a little bit better. The Clean Energy and Sustainability Accelerator, commonly referred to as a green bank, would leverage public and private funds to invest in clean energy technologies and infrastructure. In states where green banks have already been established, public money has been used to leverage 6 to 20 times more dollars in private investment in clean energy. All for it, baby. However, this bill also has support for fossil fuel projects. Now, I know the mass majority of us are screaming right now, like, wait a minute, we're going to give money to the fossil fuel companies? Yes. And even though I don't like it, you do still need fossil fuels right now. The economy, the world, just the country, everything still is run, the mass majority of the time, on fossil fuels. So you still need to address what you need now while prepping and planning and hopefully continuing working on for the future. That way we can get away from these fossil fuel projects. But you're always going to have some way, somehow, a level of fossil fuel projects. Agriculture, steel, ports, and more. I'll elaborate on this one. The bill contains numerous smaller measures aimed at specific parts of the economy with high emissions. $20 billion for agriculture subsidies to help farmers reduce emissions, $6 billion to reduce emissions in chemical, steel, and cement plants, and $3 billion to reduce air pollution at ports. All good. $313 billion from a 15% corporate minimum tax. Fuck yeah. That fucking tax rate should be at least 25%, but at this point, I'll take 15%. $124 billion from major enforcement increases at the IRS. Well, you better be going after the fucking bigwigs, the billionaires and these massive conglomerates, and not some fucking schmuck from Tennessee that lied on his taxes and you're going to audit him for fucking $500. Go fuck yourself, IRS. Changing special tax treatment for private equity. Now, I don't know what that is, so let me elaborate on this. The bill would also change what tax experts have characterized as a loophole, primarily benefiting the private equity industry. Are there worse scum than private equity people? Ugh! Under current law, investors can qualify for a lower tax rate on the accrued value of their stock holdings if they hold those assets for at least 3 years. The provision would extend that period of time to 5 years, making it harder for investors to claim a tax rate lower than the ordinary rate paid by most taxpayers on wage income. Private equity firms benefit from the lower rates because currently much of their compensation is treated as a capital gain, not as income. The proposal would also tighten the rules to prevent investors from gaming this holding period. Good. Fuck those people. Lowering prescription drug prices. Perfect. Extending health insurance subsidies. Perfect. But, what exactly is missing in this? Now, there is a bunch of shit in there for the climate and global warming and climate change and what have you, but there is still things missing. The Democrats had already abandoned a pivotal program last year that would have punished electric utilities that didn't deploy more clean energy. The Clean Electricity Performance Program, which had been accounted for nearly 42% of the original bill's emission cuts, according to a chart released by Schumer's office last year. But it fell out early amid opposition from Manchin, who said it would accelerate the country's energy transition too quickly and leave it more dependent on foreign governments. He could be right, but I fucking doubt it. Taxes. Most of Democrats' earlier proposed tax measures have been dumped. Biden initially proposed more than $3 trillion in new tax hikes on the rich and corporations. And even those proposals were smaller versions of the multi-trillion-dollar wealth tax plans pushed by Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren during the 2020 presidential campaign. Higher taxes on wealthy investors and heirs, also proposed by Biden, are out as well. The legislation also excludes relief from a cap on how much state and local taxes Americans can deduct of their federal taxes, which has been a top priority for some Democrats in high-tax states, such as Robert Menendez from New Jersey, telling Axios on Wednesday that the matter should be addressed in the final bill, which it's not. And there's a bunch of shit that was left out in healthcare, so I'll quickly run through this and we're done with this long-ass article here. Democrats will have to come to terms with the failure of their ambitions to expand healthcare to two other groups: millions of poor Americans in Republican-controlled states and senior citizens. President Obama's Affordable Care Act required states to expand Medicaid to those earning up to 133% of the federal poverty level, but the Supreme Court made such a move optional, and many GOP-run states refused. Advocates had hoped to ensure the plan extend Medicaid to cover these groups, which would have expanded coverage to roughly 2.2 million people, many of whom live in the South. It was a huge priority for several vulnerable Democrats, such as Raphael Warnock of Georgia. Last summer, more liberal Democrats were also pushing for a major expansion of Medicare, allowing the program to cover vision, dental, and hearing, but that's been out of talk since the fall. The deal also cut some of Biden's priorities, such as infusing hundreds of billions into home care for the elderly and those with disabilities. Yeah, Republicans don't care about these people. They're not making money. And it doesn't include provisions that could help provide health insurance for new mothers who earn low incomes or some of the nation's most vulnerable children. Again, the pro-life party, they don't give a fuck about babies and mothers. Earlier versions would have permanently funded coverage for low-income children and expand Medicaid to provide benefits for a year after giving birth in every state. But, those pro-lifers are like, well, we care about the life when it's inside the woman, but once that thing is shit out there, it's on its own, You can't be giving handouts to infants and young mothers. Come on, what is this, Russia? So, although I have massive critiques on this bill, I have to say I do agree that this is a massive step forward, and that just shows you how fucking sad it is to live in this shithole country at times. We have it so good in so many ways compared to so many, but good Christ, when you look at just the bare minimum of healthcare, we just can't do it without gnashing our teeth and pulling out our hair and decrying socialism, even though half the country is run on socialism, you dumb, dirty mooks. But with that, let's celebrate, because we killed another Al-Qaeda member, and a big one at that. Ayman al-Zawahiri, one of the perpetrators of the 9/11 attacks that killed almost 3,000 people in New York, the Pentagon, and in Pennsylvania, was killed by U.S. drone missiles in Afghanistan's capital, President Joe Biden announced yesterday. So my God, for having the best military in the history of the world, it took us over 20 years to kill this jabroni. So, what the fuck? We have the largest military budget. I'm pretty sure it's in the trillions at this point. And it took us 20 years to kill one man. Not too good for the greatest military ever. How long did it take us to kill Osama bin Laden? At least 10 years, right? Yeah, because that happened under Obama. Maybe not 10 years, but it was damn near close. So all that money ain't producing much if it takes us 20 years to kill the supposed mastermind. Although I haven't heard the name Ayman al-Zawahiri in a long time. During the days and weeks and years after 9/11, I would hear about Zawahiri a hell of a lot more. But after the Osama bin Laden assassination, he was de facto the most wanted terrorist in the world, at least in America. I'm assuming in the world. So it took us 20 years, but we bombed a senior citizen. But the motherfucker needed to go. Zawahiri was killed in a over-the-horizon operation in downtown Kabul, where he was residing as a guest of the Taliban. The house was struck by 2 Hellfire missiles in a precision counterterrorism operations at 6:18 a.m. Kabul time on Sunday. Zawahiri was the only casualty. Well, it later came out that 2 more people did die, but they were high-ranking Taliban officials, so fuck them. We are confident through our intelligence sources and methods, including multiple streams of intelligence, that we killed Zawahiri and no other individuals, a senior administration official said. His death deals a significant blow to Al-Qaeda and will degrade the group's ability to operate, including against the U.S. homeland. Well, I can't really believe senior officials coming out with we did or did not kill people, because they have been caught lying time and time again about civilian casualties, mostly children. So I'm happy that we killed this guy, but we are just to assume, we are supposed to take the word of the U.S. government on these things? Come on, give me a fucking break. Zawahiri led Al-Qaeda terror group following the death of Osama bin Laden in 2011. So yeah, it took us 10 years to get the motherfucker. Zawahiri had served as bin Laden's deputy and helped plan terror attacks on the U.S. and Americans overseas, including the attack on USS Cole in Yemen in 2000 that killed 17 sailors and wounded many others, and the attacks on U.S. embassies in Tanzania and Kenya in August 98 that killed 224 people and wounded more than 4,500. He carved a trail of murder and violence against American citizens, American service members, American diplomats, and American interests, Biden said in the statement. Since bin Laden's death, Zawahiri coordinated Al-Qaeda's branches around the world, including setting priorities and providing operational guidance that called for and inspired attacks against U.S. targets, Biden continued. Now, justice has been delivered, and this terrorist leader is no more, the president said. People around the world no longer need to fear the vicious and determined killer. The United States continues to demonstrate our resolve and our capacity to defend the American people against those who seek to do us harm. So I wonder now, the 2 masterminds of 9/11 have both been dealt with. We have killed them both. Are we done now? Are we going to get out of the Middle East? Are we going to stop drone striking supposed terrorists at weddings and elementary schools and shopping malls and markets? Are we? Probably not. Probably not. To me, this is reminiscent of George Bush's mission accomplished bullshit when he was on the freight carrier in the middle of the ocean talking about, we did it, Iraq is done, and we're still in Iraq. So it's awesome that we got retribution. We killed a mass murderer, just an evil mastermind. However, are we still doing things as a country in the Middle East that's causing more and more young people to want to become terrorists? Absolutely. You talk to anyone that's born in the Middle East within the last 20 years, and you ask them, what is your opinion of America? You need to listen, because most of it's not good. Most of it is exceptionally bad. And how can you blame them? They open up their door and they look outside and they just see American soldiers, they see American helicopters and jet planes and all that shit. So it's no wonder that there are still terrorist attacks happening around the world, especially in the Middle East, because the way that the West is dealing with the business in the Middle East is lacking in empathy and compassion and outright intelligence and common sense. But I digress. We're here to celebrate the death of a cunt Zawahiri. I hope you rot in whatever hell you believe in. I don't believe in the Christian heaven or hell, and I certainly don't believe in the Muslim heaven or hell. So whatever is in the afterlife, I hope you're getting a fire metal rod shoved up your beehole. But with that, we are done with the news. So, Angelo and the police. What the fuck? So from an early age, I'm talking from birth till about college, I worshipped the police. I thought that the mass majority of policing were done by the bravest of heroes, and that if there's video or if there's evidence of police impropriety, then it's a one-off. It's completely rare. And I didn't really get challenged on that up until college. And that also coincided with me becoming an adult and driving and getting a job and going to parties and actually having more run ins with the Popo. So let me back up and say that when I was growing up, I was inundated with pro police media, pro police movies, pro police TV. I mean, I grew up watching Cops. I grew up watching revenge movies. I grew up watching police and movies just blowing minorities away and cheering them on. My father holds the police as high as the military. So I really didn't have much personal experience with the police until I was older. And I think it also goes to show that I didn't have quite a diverse group of friends or a group of coworkers, obviously, until I was older and working. But most of my friends were at that small Christian evangelical school where Christians do love themselves some police, but all my friends were white for the most part. They were from upper to middle class. And like I was already talking about, I was inundated with pop culture praising the police. And I wasn't allowed to listen to rap or hip hop where they were talking shit about the police. I wasn't allowed to listen to like Rage Against the Machine that were talking about the racism in the police. I didn't watch any experts talking about the problems with police and the benefits of reforming the police up until college. And I really didn't know anything about the LA riots in the early 90s because of Rodney King up until college when I was watching it on the news. I should back up. I was watching the news from that time because my degree from college is communications, journalism, media relations, and media studies. And that's when I was like, holy shit, the police are not squeaky clean. And this also coincides with me finding out that the military was not squeaky clean either. Really, you were just taught such nonsense when you're a white suburban male in the 90s. I really thought that if you had the army uniform on, you deserved to be saluted. If I saw the policeman, I felt like I had to salute him just because that's what I thought everybody did. But once I got to be around a more diverse group of people, mostly anyone who wasn't a white person, I realized that not everyone had good run-ins with the police. My first black friend, his father was so racist towards whiteys, and my father was talking shit about that. And then later in life, I realized why my black friend's father was so racist towards me and everybody else is because he grew up in the fucking 50s and 60s. He had to outrun lynch mobs. This motherfucker lived in wartime at home. So no wonder he looks down at his son making friends with a chubby white kid who just wants to play basketball and talk NBA and everything, and he just didn't understand. He wanted his son to get a better education than he did, to get him out of the ghetto, to get him out of that life. But you couldn't take the life out of him, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. You couldn't take that ghetto kind of upbringing out of him, and he put that on his son, much like my parents put their baggage on me. And if I ever reproduce, those poor children of mine will have to deal with some of my personal trauma, even though I will combat it as best as I can. But, it's a losing battle in a sense. But anyway, so that's my childhood. Love the police, love the military, believe the government, believe the news. But then I had my awakening, and my first actual run-in with the police was at a high school party. I was drunk on a trampoline with two ladies, and I was so drunk, and I was touching their boobies. They had their shirts almost off. I was just in heaven, but I was being so loud and so belligerent that the police were called, and I had to go run from them in the woods. And that was the first time I ran and hid from the cops. But as my partying days in high school and college progressed, the police were called multiple times, and I always was able to outrun them, even though they were yelling at me from a distance, "Hey, you, stop running." But because I was white, they didn't shoot me in the back. Sad but true. Oh, I forgot. When I was in middle school, I did have a experience in my school where the police would come into our school every now and then and just chit-chat with us. All nice and pleasant, but then again, it was a Christian evangelical school. So you would have the sergeant or lieutenant come in and talk to us youngins about why we need to respect the law, why you need to respect police, why, propaganda. And I remember being kind of the same way in high school because we had multiple high school security guards throughout my 4 years there, and they always kind of had a atmospheric presence amongst everybody. But like I've said before, my high school was pretty white and pretty mixed between suburban and country kids. We didn't have a lot of violence, we didn't have a lot of drugs, we didn't have a lot of premarital relations, so there really wasn't any issues getting the police involved with us, except on one incident when I was a senior. It was a senior party day or some bullshit, and it was a raucous day. We weren't causing any property damage or anything, but we were just like belligerently crazy. We were jumping up on tables, having food fights, just having a gay old time. And we had this real butch dyke of a security officer who hated me from the get-go. My freshman year in high school, we had an old lady cop who retired. And then my sophomore and junior year, we had a pretty young male cop. And I think he was trying to bang some of the chicks there. So then he didn't last too long. And then my senior year, we had this really butch dyke woman who, I mean, she was LGBTQ before there was LGBTQ. But anyway, she hated me because I was loud and I was elusive and I was very popular. But anyway, so on that crazy senior party day, one of my best friends, he climbed the roof of this awning we had outside. It's like a little lunch area. And the awning was covering a large space, mostly for people to get out of the sun or the rain or whatnot. He jumped on top of it and got in his underwear and was just dancing. Again, hijinks, but it wasn't hurting anybody. So this butch dyke comes out, starts bulldogging her way and yelling at him to get down. He says, okay. He got down. Immediately, she throws him up against the wall, throws him on the ground, handcuffs him, and drags him kicking and screaming into the office. And I followed, and she pointed her finger at me and told me to get out. So then I went to go tell my friend's brother, who charged in there and threw an apple at the policeman. Didn't hit her. But anyway, that was the first time where I saw an overly aggressive bully cop. Now, this butch dyke hated me from the get-go. She pulled me into her office before this incident and wanted me to rat on people because apparently what was happening, there was a group of kids that would go above this large stairwell structure and would throw money down, and then the kids would fight for like $1 or a quarter or a nickel. No one was getting injured really badly, but you would get nicks and scrapes and a little bit of cuts here and there, but no one was getting injured, like no one was dying. But it was getting a little bit loud, and this was during lunchtime, so you would imagine that the police and the teachers would have a little bit of a longer leash with that, but no, she wanted names for me. She saw me all the time there. She knew that I was one of the culprits, and I wouldn't rat out anybody, and she never forgave me. She would bring me in a couple times a month to try to get me to rat on my friends. And I'd say, like, listen, bitch, I'm Italian. It's not in our DNA to snitch. Snitches get stitches. And she tried to freak me out and scare me. You know, she would put her hand on her gun a little bit just to freak me out. I never believed her. But I was totally oblivious to this woman using her uniform as a tactic to try to bully me. And I didn't realize this till much later on. So anyway, then I got into college and I started having those parties and those run-ins with the police at the parties, but I was always either to talk my way out or I would just flee. And it wasn't until I got a speeding ticket by a very aggressive male with that cliche square haircut and that weird pedophile mustache on his upper lip police officer. He was a young white police officer that looked like he was bullied his whole entire life, so he thought, I'm going to become a police officer and take my frustrations out on everybody. And my poor ass got the brunt of it this one day. Long story short, I'm leaving work. I'm taking a right onto the road to go to the gym to work out and then head back home. I take a right, and immediately I see the cop car behind me with his lights on, yelling me to pull over. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? So I pull over to a vacant lot, and I turn my music down. I get all my license and registration ready because this is not my first rodeo getting pulled over. By the way, I've been pulled over probably 6 or 7 times in my life, and I got away with it the majority of the time. But I have gotten 3 speeding tickets, but only 1 actually counted. I was able to get the other 2 off, but this is the one that caused me so much hardship and headache and just really changed the way I dealt with the police. And that's bad, but I've had other run-ins with the law since then. But anyway, this guy pulled me over. Already he was furious. Like he must have been on crack or meth or heroin or something, because he was like agitated. His eyes were bulging and his mouth was just like sweaty, and he was just like spitting when he was talking. And he said, "Do you have any idea why I pulled you over?" And that kind of surprised me because he was so angry right away, so aggressive and in my face. And I was kind of startled. I kind of jolted back a little bit, and I said, "Excuse me? No, not at all." He told me, "You took such a wide right that you almost hit the other cars in the far left lane," which I know was bullshit, because I take this right every day after work to go to the gym. I was driving at this point for about 6 years. I have never done a wide turn like that. Plus, there's the bumps in the road that you would feel and hear if you were doing such a wide turn. Not to mention, there was a lot of traffic this day, so if I took such a wide turn, I easily would have hit another car. And when I told him, "Oh, well, I'm sorry, officer, but I don't think I did that," and I told him, there's speed bumps there, I didn't hit the car, there was no one honked at me, I'm sorry, but I think you're mistaken. The minute I said that I think you're mistaken, whatever niceties he had left in him evaporated. He stuck his whole fucking head into my window, so he was like inches away from my face, and just started screaming at me about how entitled I was, how wrong I was. I must think that I'm untouchable, all this nonsense. And that's when I realized, holy shit, this guy has a gun. And if I don't take it easy here, I may I may make the evening news. But I wasn't willing to say that he was right, because he absolutely was not right. And so I said, "Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but here's all my stuff." So I gave him my ID, my registration. He took his sweet fucking time in his car to do whatever stupid grunt work they have to do. It was almost a half hour until he came back, and he was still seething with rage, because I could see his arms and his face were red like a tomato, and his nostrils were flared like he was heavy breathing. So either he did a line in his car, or he beat up an unarmed black man in his car. I don't know what the problem was. But he comes back, leans into my car again, and says, "Well, I see your ID shows the wrong address, so that's going to be a fine. You forgot to sign your registration. That's a fine." And then he said something about my car, and that's a fine. And that's when I said, okay, this guy's just a cunt. And so I started playing along, and I was like, yeah. And then he stopped, and he said, "Boy, you're a really sarcastic kid, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah, and you're a very overly aggressive bully." And he started laughing, and that's when he really leaned in and started talking to me. And as he was talking, he spit on accident. And that's when I mocked anger, and I said, "Holy shit, officer, did you just spit on me?" "I didn't spit on you." And I'm like, "Yeah, look." And I showed him, and sure enough, he was talking and spitting the entire time. But now I called him out. So I said, "What's your badge number? This is harassment." And he was like, "Oh, harassment." So he was then mocking me. And surely I know for a fact, people, that if I was anything else rather than a white male, it would not have gone this smoothly, if you can call this smooth at all. So another back and forth for another couple minutes, for what turned out to be just like a warning, turned out to be like a $700 in fines, because he also was charging me with being aggressive to the police and talking back and all this nonsense. And I told him, "Boy, I can't wait to see you in court." He said, "Oh, the feeling's mutual." And that's exactly what I did. I don't know if those of you that have never had a run-in with the police like this, you have to fill out forms in order to show up in court, which is what I did. I was living at home with my dad at the time. I had no life. I was ready to fight this to the bone, and it's exactly what I did. I drew it out. It lasted months and months and months. The Renton Municipal Court kept fucking up. The police department kept fucking up. I had to take so much time off work for nothing, because they kept getting rescheduled or canceled. And inevitably, I never saw that officer again. He refused to show up in court. The $700 something in fines were whittled down to like $70. And I didn't even want to pay that, but I said, enough is enough. I mean, the whole ordeal took over 4 months. So that was the first time I had to deal with an aggressive, hawkish, just white bully of a pig officer. Now, I have met other officers since then that are completely nice, completely respectable, and that I do think that I'm happy that they are police. However, I've also seen officers treat other people like animals. I work in Seattle. I see a large police presence all the time. And I will say, the mass majority of the time, to me, they're doing their job accordingly. They're doing what they have to do. But every now and then I have seen one that's getting a little aggressive, is yelling at people, kind of menacing a body language, and their hand is resting on their gun, which is a horrific thing to see if you're anyone, but especially if you're being talked like that by a police officer. And then, of course, everything during the George Floyd protest completely shifted my thinking of policing, because I was already leaning towards, policing may be more of an issue than I always thought. And at that point in my life, I realized, policing really needs to get addressed. We have to take the racism out as best as we can. We have to address the crooked union. The police union may be the worst union to ever exist in this country. And how bad cops protect their own and the good cops get silenced. And I started to really get into this stuff, listening to podcasts, reading books, listening to my friends of color talk. And I realized that I have been spoiled, like in many ways in this country, as a white suburban male, that I never had to deal with this shit. But you talk to anyone that's of color, or talk to anyone who's not a Christian, I'm talking a Muslim or something like that, and you ask them, how are your run-ins with the police? And I'm still surrounded by old fucking boomer family members that still think the police are more often than not correct, that it is a heroic profession, that it does attract brave people, and that if you don't run from the police, then everything should be okay. And we know by now that that's not accurate. So I will always say, in my personal experience, there's been a few bad apples, with that one in Renton being by far the scariest officer that I've ever had to have the pleasure of talking with. But I've been able to have reasonable conversations and okay interactions with the mass majority of police in my life. But again, I am a white male, so I do not get treated the same. I have been around friends and family that are of color, and I can see them be completely different than I am when it comes to police. They get nervous, they get stiff as a board, they start to sweat, and how can you blame them? How can you blame them? Okay? If they talked the way to that Renton cop the way that I did, easily they would have been arrested, pistol whipped, or just flat out shot or tased. But because I am the way I am and I look the way I look, I think I get away with a lot more. And that's not breaking news. That's not surprising, okay? But at least I can admit it, okay? I can admit my privileges, and I wish more white people would do that, especially when it comes to the police, because day in, day out, I am seeing stories of police being bullies, being aggressive, or outright being lazy or straight up evil. So I still believe that the mass majority of police are good people. However, it's not as high as I once thought. I really thought that back in the day, 90% of police officers are brave heroes. Now that figure is probably down to 55%. Maybe cracking 60, okay? And I have my own ways that I would fix policing. Just to really quickly, I would get rid of the police union and rebuild it from the ground up. I would do a health and fitness test on all police officers, and if you're too fat and old to do any of this, to accomplish it, you're writing a desk. You have to scour their social media to find out the ones that are believing in far-right nonsense. You got to get rid of them. And you have to pay them more. This whole defund the police is fucking bullshit. You have to train them better. You have to teach them how to de-escalate. You want to have new hires have a degree in psychology or sociology or something to talk down these people. You shouldn't be sending armed policemen to treat with a homeless person that's drugged out, You can have a little bit of empathy and compassion in your police force, but also have the smarts to be able to say, I'll be nice up to this point, but then I'm going to have to take out my taser or do something, okay? Because I think in this country, police officers view themselves as soldiers, and that's not what they are. Police are not military. This militarization of the policing, really since the 80s, has been probably their single most detrimental to the police and their outlook on the American people. So you have to demilitarize them, teach them how to be compassionate rather to do consequences first. Basically, instead of shoot first, ask questions later, ask the questions, and your last resort should be non-lethal shootings, okay? Surely you can shoot people in the arms or the legs, okay? You don't need to shoot someone in the back when they're running, okay? So I have plenty of ideas on how to fix things, and I don't think it's that extreme at all. You need the police. I was not a fan of what that area in Seattle did during the George Floyd's protest. They kicked the police out and they had that chop shop for a couple days where people were getting murdered every night. But you need the police, but you need the right people as police. And I think there's plenty of ways to do it right. But with that, we can move to wrap up here. So in closing, I think we're going to read from my journal, which we haven't done in a few weeks. But let me go ahead and get comfortable here. Oh, God. I don't know if I'm just really out of shape or I'm getting old or it's a combination of both, but I had myself some real good sex on Sunday, and it's Wednesday, and I'm still sore from it. And I've been losing weight. I've been eating better, and so I thought for sure I may be a little bit sore for a day or so, but surely not for 3 days. But my abs, my back, my thighs, my hips, Jesus Christ. I don't know. Maybe I'm too much of a romantic lover. Maybe I should cool it off a little bit, but my God, I need to go get a massage or some shit. But anyway, let me go ahead and pull up my journal here. Let me go ahead and get the jingle in my head here. It's time for Angelo's journal. What's it gonna be? More nonsense or geniusness? Let's see what it's gonna be. Wow, 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 wow. All right. So, for those of you that are new listeners, the thing about my journal is every now and then I have a really stupid, retarded epiphany that I just have to put in my journal on my phone, and then I never look at it again until I'm on the podcast. So I have not seen these since I put them in initially. So let's go to the top here. Everybody thinks their heart is in the right place, but how truly is it? Then you can talk about how people have borderline personality disorders when they are online. They become someone completely different. They think they're all wolves, but most of them are sheep. Boy, I was really on one there. Everybody thinks their heart is in the right place, but how truly is it? That's true. And you can look at religion, politics, even sports, or really anything, philosophy, and think that you have a good outlook or ideology on something based on whatever emotions you want to back up that claim. I personally think that I have good empathy, I have good compassion, I have common sense. I try to lead with intelligence and heart rather than anger and knee-jerk reactions or whatever my gut is telling me to do. But if you think your heart is in the right place, how do you truly know? That is a good conundrum. I guess you just have to look at the results you're getting. If you think your heart is in the right place and you act accordingly based on that belief, if you're not getting the results you want, I guess you could question the actions or the people that you're actioning on. Maybe it's them and not you. But if you're only getting bad results or you're only getting results that you're surprised by, maybe it is you. Maybe your heart is not in the right place. But this whole thing about borderline personality disorders that people have when they're online, I guess everyone is a little bit different online than they are in person. I know I once was, especially when I was getting in all cap arguments on social media with fake ass boomer bot accounts. But yeah, those days are thankfully well behind me. But I would like to think that the persona I give off on social media or just online is not that different than who I am on an everyday basis. So I think I'm decent at that, but I definitely know that not everyone is like me in this. But even look at this podcast. I don't think I'm putting on a show or an act or, being someone I'm not on the podcast. Who I am on here is who I am outside of here. Or at least I like to think so. But anyway, moving on to the next one. Oh, nice. Whales are so cool. Disney Plus show. Oh, I just say Disney Plus show. I don't tell you what the show is called. Ugh, fucking stoned ass Angelo. So whales are cool. Disney show. Like, how the hell does a gigantic behemoth like the humpback whale only eat krill, a 2-inch shrimp motherfucker? It should be eating goddamn orcas, which are so beautiful and so deadly. They're the mass murderers of the ocean, but they're also so elegant. Wow, that's a lot of unwrap there. Whales are so cool. I agree. Whales are probably one of my favorite animals in the world. I was watching a Disney show. I don't know which one, but I do know Disney Plus has National Geographic on there, and they do have some bomb-ass content on there. How the hell does a gigantic behemoth like the humpback whale eat krill, a 2-inch shrimp motherfucker? And I don't think they're 2 inches. I think krill is even smaller than that. It is crazy to think that the largest animals on the planet, the humpback whales, the blue whale, the whale shark, you would think, oh man, they're eating people, they're eating other animals like other whales, other sharks, other dolphins. Easily they're eating fish. No, 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 no. They're eating tiny krill and plankton, the smallest, well, they may not be the smallest animal in the ocean, but they got to be damn near one of the smallest. You would think they would be eating goddamn orcas. Yeah, but I tell you, orcas are some of the most evil animals in the ocean. They're one of the few animals that kill for pleasure. Sometimes they kill for a teaching opportunity. Like, I have seen videos of adult orcas kill a penguin or a seal or a shark or a dolphin or an octopus. They kill something, but they don't eat it. They then bring up a baby or a juvenile orca and say, hey, why don't you fuck with this thing? And they're teaching this juvenile or baby orca how to kill, how to grip, how to eat. So that I think is okay. Almost every animal does that. But there's been countless instances of orcas just killing to kill. There is no juveniles, there is no baby orca to showcase anything. They will kill a penguin and then just like slap it around and like kick it up like it's a volleyball or a soccer. It's pretty astounding. I mean, you go on YouTube, you can see this shit. They're one of the few animals that kill for pleasure. Big cats are another one. There have been instances, I just read a story that happened in India. There was 4 Indian men that were stuck on some kind of tsunami or a windstorm. Or they're in a boat at sea, but they can't go on land because there is a giant tiger that is patrolling the beach waiting for them to go on land. Now, these 4 men have been out in the ocean for days and days and days. They are fucked up. They are dying. They are starving. So eventually, the game between who's going to break first, these 4 Indian men on a capsizing boat or this giant tiger, finally broke when the tiger just swam out to the boat and grabbed man by man by man and killed each and every one of them and never ate them, just killed them and left their corpses on the land. It's insanity. Why would the tiger kill if it wasn't going to eat? If you're going to kill 4 humans, at least eat 1. But anyway, my point being, there is no God. What loving, just God would create these monstrosities of nature, these big cats, these orcas, and there's other animals too, that kill just for the sake of killing? You would think that the humans would be the only animal that does it, but nope, there's plenty of others. And I think with that, we may be done. I'll read you one more. On here, I just wrote, teaching the neighborhood kids how to curse while I work outside. There's been a few times when the neighborhood kids, I live on a cul-de-sac, and you know kids love to play in a cul-de-sac. And I'm out there mowing the lawn or doing something out there that's strenuous. I do tend to listen to loud music, and sometimes I got a little buzz on, either through alcohol or mostly through marijuana. And I sometimes forget how loud my voice can get, and I will, stub my toe, or I will be mowing the lawn and the cord will go unplugged, or what other hardship will happen. And instead of just saying, oh, well, I'll fix it, I let out a loud fuck or a loud god damn it, or I'll call something a cunt. A inanimate object is getting insulted by me on the regular when I'm outside working. And there's been a few times when I let a few choice words slip out of my mouth, and I will hear all of the kids laughing and talking about it. And I'm just thinking to myself, I must not have said anything too bad, because you would think at that point one of their parents would come over to my house and say, did you yell fucking cunt, goddamn son of a bitch, shit fuck while you were mowing the lawn? My kid won't stop saying it. He said it at school, now he's expelled. So yes, my dirty mouth hasn't lessened the property values of these houses quite yet. But these kids gotta learn, I remember when I was their age, and by the way, these kids are probably maybe in the middle of middle school. I don't know. But I remember I was the cool, popular kid at their age because I did have parents that cursed. And I would go to that Christian school and say, hey, do you guys know what a blowjob is? Do you guys know what a clitoris is? Do you guys know what a cunt is? Do you guys know what a queef is? And all this shit that none of these Christian kids had ever even heard before. And I'm explaining everything to them. That's one of the reasons I was so popular. So you know what, kids? And my kid listeners, of which I know there's plenty, curse. It'll make you popular. But with that, I think we are finally done here. So take it sleazy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Treat others as you want to be treated. And don't be a judgmental cunt, all right? And I guess if you're going to have sex, stretch beforehand, because you're definitely going to have to pay the price if you don't stretch before. And absolutely you will suffer if you do not stretch afterwards, after you bump uglies with a little bit of passion. So peace out, everybody. Catch you guys on the flip side.